All right, here we're back at BLOODBATH.TACTICS. I'm Cass, and we're joined here by Ben, and we also brought a new guest on, David, who's been on our show before. How you doing, David?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Today to talk about Grey Knights.
Yeah, we have a great, exciting show about this because David right now is ranked number 2 in the world for Grey Knights.
2 in the world.
Two in the world.
Those who are avid watchers of BLOODBATH.TACTICS will recognize Dave. He was our resident pro for World Eaters, but I think we spent like a good 20 minutes at the end of that podcast talking about Grey Knights. So it's no secret that they're near and dear to your heart, and you're very, very good at them. As Cass said, number 2 in the world. Is that true?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Number 1 in North America, but
Sure.
that's all that matters, right? We don't care about
we
Europe,
don't-
right?
we have a different format out here, right?
Yeah.
We're a little bit of the Wild West,
That's right.
so to speak.
That's right. You said there was some kind of, is it a French guy or something in Europe that is it beating you out?
I'm not 100% sure. He was at a French tournament
'Kay.
when he surpassed me.
Gotcha. So he must be
So
French.
he must be French.
What tournament was it?
I couldn't tell you. It was a 200-man, and he came first with Grey Knights. So
Le
obviously,
Tournament.
Oh,
Yeah.
Le Tournament.
Le Tournament.
Very
yeah.
skilled Grey Knight player.
Yeah.
Probably gonna ask him his secrets, but
Sure.
it's for another day.
Yeah, can you talk to him on the Discord or anything? Like, you got connections there?
No, I haven't reached out to him, but
That'd be cool if on BCP there was like a messenger type function on there. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool, actually. I know it would hopefully not get abused and be weird and stuff, but like some kind of like a friend system messaging thing. That'd be kind of cool.
yeah. I'm in like regular conversation with who I think is the best Grey Knight player in the world is Trevor Lowen.
Oh, okay.
He
I
beat me
recognize the
at
name.
West Coast in the mirror, but you won't see his name on the ITC rankings just because he doesn't have enough scores in.
Gotcha.
Oh, and that's why like these ITC scores don't necessarily mean like
No, they don't. They really don't.
It's
Right.
what does Tony always call it? Dick swinging points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Still
are
stick
you
swinging
grinding
points.
your points? And I mean you can be a consistent winner, but are you actually grinding your points this year?
Right.
Like, what if one year you take off and then the next year you're going at it and you're like, okay, I'm going to do every tournament this year, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But needless to say, you're a very good Grey Knights player. So we are going to have you on for the second faction focus, Grey Knights. I think the first question, because we know a bit of your history already. Your first army was Necrons. I think every time we have a guest on, we start out at like origin story, but we know your origin story. So why don't you tell us instead why Grey Knights?
It went back to my childhood in that at GW back in the early days, like 2006, they had these things called mega battles on Sunday, and they take out all the models of their display case, and they push tables together, and you get a bunch of 10 to 12-year-old kids, and they each picked a unit, and they played a very casual game of Warhammer.
Oh, cool.
And one time, I was given some Grey Knight Paladins,
Okay.
and this was maybe in 2006, and they just chewed through everything in that mega battle. And
2006 would have been, what edition does it? What even? That's like,
gosh,
5th?
third,
yeah, I was
fourth?
gonna say 4th, maybe something
Yeah.
like that. Way back in the day.
Yeah,
They had full printed codexes then, though, too.
Did Grey Knights
Yeah.
have a full codex back then?
I don't think so.
I can tell you.
Who knows?
Yeah.
You just showed up and played cool
Yeah.
paladins.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. Yeah.
And they looked really cool. And then, so when I picked up the hobby back in 2018, which was 8th edition, I picked up Admech, but my second army was Grey Knights just because I really liked the aesthetic. The lore was really cool.
For sure.
And
yeah.
Paladins just look sick. So
Yeah, like I don't know a ton of lore. I've started reading, or Audible has been reading to me some of the books.
I Audible, too.
It's way easier. I mean,
Well, you
that's
can
the
do it
whole
when
thing.
you paint. You can
do all
it
your
in car
driving.
ride. Yeah.
Like it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So much easier.
good.
But lore wise, correct me if I'm wrong. Grey Knights are like the end all and be all of the Imperium, effectively. Like Drago is.
They don't exist.
The Alpha Chad, right?
Technically, they don't
Well,
exist.
of course,
They
yeah.
don't
Now that we know
exist.
about them, we're
if
dead.
you find out about them, exterminatus.
Right.
But yeah, they are considered the Imperium's strongest heroes. Of course, they don't talk about
Asterix.
custodes
Yeah,
in their
right. Yeah.
asterisks,
Yeah.
but they are supposed to be like, the best psychers in the Imperium,
Right.
the best weapons, the best armor, etc. Et cetera.
And you being the best player, you got to play them. Right?
Thank God Dread Knights went up in AP and weapon skill.
Do you?
Yeah.
And here's a weird question. Do you think that the rules reflect the lore at all, in some way?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say the uppy downy in that they're surgical strikes and they're very elite and they're high cost in points and very resilient. Yeah, for sure. They get some bonuses against chaos and demons, which is, a little inconsequential, but sometimes it comes up.
Right, sure.
Well, for sure it does, especially I think who does the is it Valdis that does the anti-psyker attack that's or anti-demon psyker attack?
So Drago has the anti-demon 2-up, and then Voldis has like a mortal wound bomb that does better against demons.
Right, yeah.
And then there might be one or two other things. There's enhancement that does better.
It did I think 11 mortal wounds to Materian once.
Ooh.
Gross.
But he's a demon, right? So it kind of came up and I was shit.
Anti-demon
Surprise.
2-up, 2 CP dev wounds. So it could theoretically put 18 wounds on Magnus. It ignores Magnus's -1 damage, doesn't ignore psychic damage. So
interesting.
He could just do 18 damage if you
Damn.
don't roll
Oh,
once.
wow.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like the whole like uppy downy thing of like going into the warp and out of the warp, right? Like they manipulate the warp better than anybody else, right? So I think that makes sense. You were mentioning before we started filming that you want to touch on how they functioned maybe mechanically in 9th edition, or like how for a person who didn't play any 9th edition, literally have no idea, what were the changes?
So in 10th, Grey Knights got this cool ability, which was 3 uppy downies. And if you don't live under a rock, you know what uppy downy is. You get 3 of them. And you also get some pretty good shooting from the Dread Knights and the Librarians. So in 9th, basically, if you wanted to uppy downy, you could Cascade of Infinity, which was a spell, Warp Charge 7.
Hard to get.
So usually if you need that to go off, you're spending a CP to cast on 3d6, pick the 2 highest.
Right.
Not guaranteed. We all know that.
Right.
Yep.
So maybe another CP. So 2 CP to do 1 uppy downy. And then you got a strap for another 2 CP to you get to do an uppy downy. So for 3 CP, usually, you get to do 2 uppy downies. In 10th, you get to do 3 uppy downies
Just for
free. No cost. For free.
Now there was, if I understand correctly, there was more CP out in the world
Way
in
more.
9th edition. So
Way
you,
more.
Like you started the game with a whole bunch. So like,
I wouldn't say there was more, but you got them all right at the start.
oh, interesting.
Right?
Okay, so you got your pool right away and you're spending them.
And
There
you
go.
got some more throughout the game.
And there was some characters too that would give you more, like Silent King would give you 3 extra.
Cool.
Before Nephilim, yeah. It was you'd start the game with 14 CP with
Okay.
Necrons.
Gotcha.
14.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Most start with like 8.
Oh, okay. That's a ton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
it
gotcha.
was crazy. Yeah. That's
So
what
yeah.
the Silent King would do.
So
though.
to replicate, obviously, what you're doing in 10th, you're saying in 9th it was resource intensive.
You had to spend a lot to get uppy downies,
Mm-hmm.
which were a big part of what made the army work. Like there were turns where, I didn't pass my Gate of Infinity and I didn't have the CP to spend. So I was stalling for a turn, which you never want to do. You don't want to be not doing damage and not scoring your points, right?
Of course.
So now you get that for free in 10th, which is like huge buff. Even if the killiness of everything went back down in 10th, still way better for Grey Knights in 10th.
Now, did you play them similarly, even though it was more resource intensive? Did you play them similarly in 9th to 10th, or was the play style completely different just because you were more limited?
In 9th, you played them how you wanted to play in 10th. So not really. Like you wanted to cut the angles with the Dread Knights to get like the shooting, so you can't be shot up, but you can shoot, which you couldn't do on maybe 1 or 2 uppy downies. So it's hard to say. But in 9th, like the Dread Knight shooting was probably as good, if not slightly better. But you're dumping CP into that. You're trying to pass spells with empiric amplification, which is like +1 damage on a warp charge 7, and then like another warp charge 6 or 7 for +1 to wound. I can't remember. It was 9th.
Yeah.
So now you get Dread Knight shooting at basically the same profile, but for no cost.
Right, which is huge, obviously.
It's
huge.
huge.
It's a game changer. Yeah.
It's what makes, not that Grey Knights were bad in 9th. They were still like maybe a B+ army. But in 10th, you just have no costs to doing the things you want to do.
And did you play any competitive in 9th? I can't remember if you said you had or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
a fair
played,
amount? Yeah.
I'd say Grey Knights were my main competitive army in 9th. I went
Oh,
to
okay.
LVO with them.
Right.
I did
Yeah,
pretty
that's right.
good,
That's right,
but
yeah.
it was like, the Codex creep in 9th was so weird. I started playing
Custodes at the time.
like Custodes
Yeah.
when I went to LVO were the thing.
They were nuts then.
Yeah, it was like 4 up against mortal wounds. Half my damage is for mortal wounds, so sad days. You just can't play against that. But
Right.
now everything's way more balanced. So
Yeah, I found Grey Knights in 9th. They were really cool because they could play every stage of the game well. They were good at moving. They were great at psychic. Their shooting wasn't like, oh wow, it's gonna destroy some tanks. But do you know what? The amount of volume they would get out of shooting, it would it'd push down any infantry unit that was in front of them because all of them had storm bolters and they're all hitting with nemesis weapons.
Right.
And then the melee was even better. So like they just did every phase of the game well.
yeah, and it's the same case right now, except their melee is slightly worse.
Mm-hmm.
But every army in the game is weaker than it was in 9th.
Yeah, they'd all got
So
trimmed
it
down
was.
a bit, right?
And Grey Knights really haven't. If anything, they have gone probably more resilient with the, everything's a
saves.
2-up save.
Yeah.
You have
Right.
access to true silver armor, which is
And
AOC.
did you? So you've obviously been seeing good success in 10th edition. Did you see similar success tournament-wise in 9th edition as well? Like, was this kind of Grey Knights being a little bit better, easier to play? Was that a big boon to you, or were you doing it good already? Like, are you just a great player and you just beat everybody no matter what?
9th is a little different just because it was a less balanced edition. You had Codex
Gotcha.
creep, which is just skewing the win faction statistics so much. And now the game's a lot more balanced. Not that Grey Knights are a balanced army, because I'll disclose that right now. They're not.
Oh, interesting.
I
That might
think
be
they're
a
way too
spicy take.
strong.
Really?
But yeah, I was consistently going like 3 and 2 and 4 and 1 in 9th, which isn't like great, but it's good enough. It's pretty good considering.
It's still
how-
top tables.
Yeah, it was still good. I was hitting top tables
Nice.
sometimes. But
You
you
think-
didn't
you
have
think-
the same tools.
I think that's an interesting take. I haven't heard a lot of people say that in their current form in 10th edition that Grey Knights are overpowered. Would you say?
I think they're super overpowered. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Art of War just came out with them. They're like top 3, top 4 best armies in the game.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, you know better than I would, certainly. But do we? Maybe I haven't looked at like the current meta layout. But are we seeing Grey Knights take down tournaments like big GTs and stuff recently? Like, it doesn't-
a
it
little
do-
bit, but
right.
you're seeing a ton of high placements
Right.
from like decent players. I was just looking at Goonhammer's reviews, and like, gosh, they're maybe the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place of a particular tournament was all Grey Knights.
Interesting. Okay.
It's easy for Grey Knight players to do well. I shouldn't say it's easy, but there's a lot more opportunities to do well, or a lot more win paths
Right.
by playing Grey Knights, just because there's a lot of reasons why.
Well, there's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Grey Knights doesn't really have any bad matchups. Like, is there a matchup? I think we want to touch on like maybe a team's atmosphere and strategy at some point. But does Grey Knights have like a awful matchup into anybody? Like, who do you not want to ever play as a Grey Knight?
Yeah, for sure. So Grey Knights have bad matchups. There's no armies that don't have bad matchups. It's a rock paper scissors game.
Who's well, not to interrupt too much, but who Thousand Suns? Do they have any bad matchups?
I'm sure they do. I can't think of any, but it's a high skill cap army. So like, if you play it well, you're gonna
smash
do well.
everybody.
But there are certainly armies that, like, I think Indirect Guard would just fuck them, sort of thing.
Ooh, yeah, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. So then back to
There's
Grey
some
Knights,
bad lists,
obviously.
yeah. But like,
Sure.
I mean, I think with Thousand Suns are a list you don't want to see in a tournament.
Yeah, so Grey Knights do not like T-Suns, and for obvious reasons. They get a 4-up feel no pain against psychic attacks. Magnus can pick up a Dread Knight consistently in a single activation, even with True Silver.
Of course, right.
Like their souped up Flamer can just pick up 5-man squads like no problem. You just can't really win the trades.
Gotcha.
And they can outmaneuver you with their double moves. It's a god awful matchup. You can win it. I have won that matchup before against some like decent players. But if you're facing a really strong player like Kieran Trimbley from Edmonton,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine beating him with my Grey Knights. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'm just gonna lose that matchup no matter what the mission
It's
is.
that bad,
He's
eh?
a good
Interesting,
player.
yeah.
It's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
I could maybe win it if like I'm making 9-inch charges all day.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Sure.
Like, yeah, sure, you can dance around him all day, but if you're not like being on objectives, being in critical parts of the map, then you're just not scoring points. And cool, like I can not die, but I'm also not going to score anything, right? So,
Grey Knights also hate high toughness ski lists.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Chaos Knight Armiger spam, not a good matchup.
Right,
for
Imperial
them.
Knight's not so great either.
Just vehicles in general, because the only thing that wounds like toughness 9 plus, I suppose 10 plus on 3s are the Dread Knight hammers, and it's just not super reliable. Hitting on 3s, winning on 3s with no rerolls whatsoever.
Right.
It's sometimes you'll just do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
good
very
point.
fair comment. Actually, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, into high toughness vehicle lists and stuff. And I know the meta generally has shifted to a lot of like Space Marines with a bunch of vehicles and stuff like that. But I don't think we saw a ton of that locally. How have you felt with the vehicle spam recently? I guess in the past, say, 4 or 5 months.
When I hit it, it's usually if I don't skill diff the opponent, I'm
Right.
gonna lose. Like if I hit Adam and he's running tank commanders, I really need to work hard, and I need quite a bit of luck to win that. And for those that don't know who that is, he's a really skilled card player in Calgary. And he runs
Everybody
tank
who watches
commanders
us,
and Manticores.
everybody who watches us has watched every episode. We had Adam on, so they all know who that is, obviously.
Oh, we're gonna get so many Grey Knight listeners.
Yeah. This is the one. This
Hell
is the
yeah.
faction-focused Grey
Hell
Knights.
yeah, dude.
And even right before our the MF and the data slate change too.
That's right.
Yeah. So
well, and you're right. I don't know why I didn't think of it. We've played a couple times actually. I think maybe literally twice. A practice game before Rockies where I did manage to take it down, but it was literally my Imperial Knights, which is a bad matchup for you, on Scrambler Fields. Scrambler Fields, the ritual or whatever that weird one is, which is like maybe your worst mission.
Yep.
And then we didn't play the same mission in the tournament that weekend, but you did manage to pull it down that against my Imperial Knights that weekend. So that was very impressive. And then you came. That was at Rumble in the Rockies where you came second in that one as well.
Second.
Yeah, you placed really well. Adam
I
came
lost
first
against Adam's.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So yeah, there's definitely some strengths, some weaknesses. Obviously, I mean, we touched on the weaknesses for a second, I guess, but the strengths of Grey Knights is mobility, obviously. What else for those who may be uninitiated or haven't played against them a lot? What do they do very, very well?
They're really good at slow movement melee armies, so like Orcs, Bully Boys, for example. Things that have mass AP 1 or don't have access to AP 3 up. Just because you can pop True Silver on a 2-up armor, you're not going to do a lot of damage.
Right.
Grey Knights, funnily enough, I think the hardest counter to Grey Knights is Grey Knights.
Ooh,
Sure.
interesting. Yeah.
If you don't have the right Grey Knight list, you can get fucked by them. So there's lots of things in Grey Knights that can give a 4-up feel no pain against psychic attack. So Librarians in a Terminator unit, if you're playing into that as Grey Knights and you don't have like ignore modifiers, it's going to take a lot of effort to get through that unit. Similarly, if you have the Paladin brick that ignores modifiers, or you don't have it, you're going to be charging a big Terminator brick into something, and they're going to pop True Silver, and they're going to be saving on 3s.
Right.
Whereas if you have the Paladin brick ignores mods, it's just going to chew through whatever it wants. So if you don't have the right build into Grey Knights as a Grey Knights player, you're going to have trouble into the mirror.
Right.
Yeah. Is this something you consider too when you're going into a tournament? Because there's enough Grey Knight players here, right? Is this like one of the what are the main things when you're building that list?
Never. No, I never tech for Grey Knights.
Absolutely not.
Even though I should, just because that's partially what lost against Trevor Lowen at Wet Coast. And if I had won that game, I'd be playing for top table, and it's a 200-person tournament.
Right.
But
so you got what you got.
Having
waxed.
said that, I still had the better list into him. He just skill diffed me. He got me.
I think on the O2 we can probably just get into your list because I don't think it's changed. Even with the point changes last like 3 months or 2 months ago or whatever, I think it barely changed.
It's changed once. So I have 2 lists that I've been running, and I like both the lists.
Do you want to go over that for our viewers?
For sure. We can just start with the base. It's 3 regular Dread Knights and a Grandmaster.
Okay.
And we know why Dread Knights are good. They uppy downy. They can cut angles, shoot at whatever they want.
Yep.
They do damage in 3 phases, which almost nothing in the game does. Is they shoot pretty good. They hit okay, depending if you like to roll 3 or more, and they tank shock. And tank shock on usually 16 dice. So that's going to do 5 mortal wounds to almost anything.
Yep.
Sometimes it'll do 3. Sometimes it'll do 6.
Sometimes it'll do 0.
That's never happened.
I was going to say.
It has done 2 once.
Okay,
It has
that's
done
the
2
lowest.
once.
That's the lowest.
He's
it's ever
guaranteed to.
Guaranteed 2.
I think
All
that's
right, you
probably-
heard it here, folks.
Probably fair.
You're
actually.
guaranteed 2.
Mathematically, are pretty close to guaranteed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're so good. I think it's almost a broken unit just because if you increase the points, you're still gonna take it.
And how many points are they?
Right now they're 195, and the character is I want to say 200.
Okay, so a bit more.
And they go up to 220. I'm still gonna take 4 of them.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of lists with obviously like lots of those. What before you get too far on your list, on the same kind of train of thought as the Dread Knights, I've seen a lot of Grey Knight lists, including Canis Rex. What are your thoughts on that?
Doesn't uppy downy.
He does not uppy downy. That's true.
You know, I don't think he's bad, but I've played games like at the beginning of 10th where like 3 heavy destroyers, I should say like 6 heavy destroyers, we'll just pick them up sort of thing.
Oh, jeez, I wish.
Like you can, some units just pick up a knight, and you can play around it and like keep him safe for a turn or 2, rapid ingress him, whatever.
Right.
But he's probably not making back his points.
And I guess like really his
Most
tech
cases.
is for your high toughness matchups. It's just to shore up that matchup and make it a little easier for you.
Yeah. I'd rather just take 10 Terminators or 2 Dread Knights.
Yeah.
He doesn't uppy downy, and that's
fair.
the whole strength of the army.
Yeah, the utility loss is huge, obviously, for whatever he is, 300 and some points, whatever he is, right? He's
Having said
400?
no,
435.
no,
He's
is that
still
how much
good.
he
Yeah,
costs?
he's still
Jeez,
really
I
good.
haven't played
Yeah,
Knights in
like-
so long.
He will make his points get back,
Oh my god.
but not every game, and that's the problem.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
Canis Rex
Dude, what
is
about like
435.
But what
Jesus.
about him?
Yeah.
Would he be more valuable in a team setting than solos?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't hit the right matchups in
Yeah,
teams,
right.
so it opens up matchups for you, which I suppose, yeah, for sure, it does open up some playing teams. I would say so.
But yeah, I mean, you obviously can't deny the utility loss, obviously. But yeah, you're right, 100%. Where normally you would have probably a bright red matchup into vehicles, any mass vehicles. You suddenly have like a
Bit more
yellowish
play.
right? Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry,
So let's keep going on the
continue your
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So my first iteration, which I think is the stronger list, but just because the meta's changed, it's changed a bit. So we have a Grandmaster with the Sigil of Exigence, and he goes in with 10 Paladins. So what that does is he ignores modifiers and the unit, and it gets a bunch of Psy Cannon shots. It gets 18 Psy Cannon shots at 8-1-2, ignoring mods. Hitting on 2s also. So a decent amount of
That's very
shooting.
strong,
It'll
yeah,
pick
for
up
sure.
like 10 of those Eldar bikes, no problem.
8-1-2 loves into bikes, loves into Space Marines, obviously. Yeah,
It's nice.
Marine
It's a
bodies.
nice little bit of shooting.
Yep.
But it gets 45 attacks hitting on 2s at 622. It also gets a free strat for dev wounds.
Right.
So it can
That's a 2 CP strat too. That
Yeah.
Shimmering Blade or whatever it's called.
Radiant Strike.
Radiant Strike. Shimmering.
Close.
yeah.
That was close. You were there. You were in the ballpark,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Close.
You're not the expert here, so it's okay.
No, it's good. But that's a 2 CP strat though, and getting that for free is
Yeah.
it's
always
awesome.
always valuable.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
for
huge.
Sure.
Yeah. So that will pick up like Catan. It'll pick up.
Yeah.
It ignores mods, right? So it'll pick up Redemptors.
Yeah, when you inevitably run into those Knights matchups, eventually that's your not get out of jail free card. But that's your oh crap, I need to put 10 wounds on this Knight right now.
Well, and it'll pick up
12
Morty that too, right? Like I
Right.
can't do the -1 damage.
Yep. Oh, that's right. Ignore mods. That's right. Yeah.
And if you happen to do like -1 weapon skill, blitz skill, which is a mistake against Grey Knights, but if
Right.
you happen to do it,
They don't care.
Exactly.
So it also has the Sigil of Exigence. So once you shoot at them, they pick up and go 9 inches away.
Right.
so good.
So that's a bit of a double-edged sword because it's such a it's kind of a mobile unit, but it isn't. You can misplay it so easily. Like if you don't commit with it on turn 3 or you wait too long, you suddenly have a 600-point unit that's doing nothing for half the game. So that's... I'll go back into this on my second list.
Yeah.
But I've transitioned to Drago and 10 Terminators just because it's a lot simpler to use. It's almost impossible to make a mistake with that
And
unit.
cheaper, I would imagine.
It's only like 25 points.
Oh,
cheaper.
really? Very
Yeah.
similar. Okay.
You get
interesting.
some things with the Terminators that you don't with the Paladins, but yeah. So that's why I've run. I always include an Eversur assassin.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. I haven't seen a lot of that little guy, but you run them all the time, hey?
Yeah, Eversur is good because it opens up turn 1 and 2 secondaries.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't really want to commit a strike squad to doing homers in the center or area denial. I will, if I take area denial turn 1, I will put him in the center. And if you want to come kill him, you have to come 12 inches away because he's blown off.
That's right.
And suddenly that opens up angles for the Dread Knights on the next turn.
Yep.
He can scout 9, so if I get cleanse, I can go to like the side objective and not the center and do cleanse. He just opens up a lot of play for 75 points that I'd rather like, a Calidus. I could take a Calidus and get the Vect, but he's 25 points more and he uppy downies. I already have uppy downy, so why do I need the extra uppy downy?
Yeah, and what
That's
about
fair,
and another cool thing? Do you ever use them for like area denial on against opponents? So say you're going first and you just kind of scout them into the area just in case they ever do area denial. Do you ever do the plays like that?
To deny.
For sure, yeah. He opens up so much denial and so much play. Heroics for free. He can pick up like 5 Space Marines.
What's his
if
attack?
The stars align. He gets 6 attacks at I want to say 5/2/2, maybe anti-infantry 3 up. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And he can get to sustained hits 3.
Oh wow!
Right. Yeah. You pick an ability for him. It's either like precision, sustained hits 3, or
advanced shoot and charge.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. My question was going to be why him over a Calidus, but you answered the question. I think already. It's because 25 points cheaper, and you already have access to all that movement and mobility, right? Where, like say an army like Imperial Knights, well, I always bring some kind of assassin, and it's 99% of the time going to be a Calidus, but I can't uppy downy. She's the only uppy downy, but you already have that in the bank, so you're good to go.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. And in my first iteration, I was taking Stern, who's a great unit. He's a 6 wound character with a 2-up, 4-up, and he gets back up on a 2-up for, I want to say 90 points. And that's just great value.
Yeah,
he'll get you secondaries. He'll get you a ton of points. Your opponent doesn't want to deal with him. Sometimes he'll pick up a character.
Yeah.
And then I run a combination of strikes, which gives sticky objectives, and it's 5 bases that are T4 with a 2-up save. What's not to like?
Yeah.
Or interceptors, which are the same profile, but they move 12 and they have a shoot then move 6 inches. So you can get capture pretty easily if you 3-inch deep strike, shoot then move. They're only OC5, so sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes the stars align and you can get a capture off that.
Oh, for sure. If someone doesn't have a lot of reps into Grey Knights and they don't know that's on the table, yeah, for sure. You just sneak that on them. Yeah.
You tell your opponent, but you just, sometimes your opponent will make a mistake or they won't have enough resources, so they'll pull their, stuff off.
Well,
their
even
home
if and I'm just making up the scenario because we've played quite a bit, but I don't think this ever happened. But say my Playburst crawls an OC4 on the point, well then why wouldn't you just 3-inch deep strike and then 6-inch move OC5 and take it?
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Like it's things like that.
Even if you do know the tricks, sometimes it's Grey Knights playing against Grey Knights feels very different than playing against most other armies in the entire game. You're not always thinking about a 3-inch deep strike. You're not always thinking about a shoot and scoot. You're not always thinking.
And
about
sometimes you have to allow it to happen to progress your game. You can't just always play defensively.
You can't play that. You can't play scared, right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then basically that's the list. Give or take a couple units. By going into the next list, it's the exact same list. You take out some characters, you put in one more strike unit, and you put in the 10 Terminators with Drago. And Drago opens up some good play because he has anti-demon 2-up.
Right.
So suddenly you have a bit more play into T-Suns. You just have a bit more output into Chaos. And then you have like a free win into Demons, almost.
Now, you did mention you have to get 9-inch charges to do stuff. But with Drago, what does he do?
Gives +3 to his charge once per game out of Deep Strike. I've played maybe 15 reps with that list, and I've yet to fail
A charge?
6-inch rerollable.
Ooh, Jesus.
All right, you heard it here
However-
first.
Knock on wood. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, you
Don't-
heard it
don't
here.
be
Said
throwing
that.
that out there, man. It's wild. You're
I'm not
cursed.
playing that list anymore. It's too
Oh,
like
okay. Cancel.
when you fail the first 6-inch and you're going for the reroll, and it's like, I'm gonna lose this game if I don't make this 6-inch
Right.
charge. But I played that Drago and 10 Terminators at the start of the edition. I swear, like 3 games in a row, I failed the 6-inch
Wow.
rerollable. But the second time I ran the 10 Terminators and Drago, it just seemed to never fail, which is fortunate because it always seemed to work out. It's just a good unit. You shove 32 OC onto an objective,
Crazy.
and then your
wow.
opponent needs to commit a lot of resources to remove it. But they will die. You know, you get a model back with the Apothecary. Drago hits hard. They get lethal hits. They'll kill whatever they charge. But they'll score you primary, and they'll disrupt the enemy's plan. And it's just a good unit. You can't fuck it up.
Yep.
Not like the Grandmaster and the Paladins.
Mhm.
It's just a spear. Paladins will kill an Catan in a single activation. Bulgrin were also a thing. They'll just pick up Bulgrin because Bulgrin have a built-in -1 damage.
Yep.
So there were quite a few things that didn't like ignore modifiers.
Oh, there's tons. There's tons, yeah.
Yeah.
Even after the Catan nerfs, I was curious to see how much they'd fall off, because that was points changes were a month and a half, 2 months ago-ish, something like that.
It was 2 months.
But they did fall off. Like, I don't think anybody really is seriously running 3 Catan anymore, but you're definitely seeing 1 or 2 is even pretty common. So you're saying the ignore mods is just invaluable. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge now.
Yeah.
Now it's less huge. It's still important. It's always nice to have ignore mods because almost every army has a modifier of some sort.
Sure, yeah.
Any kind of bodyguard move, like, oh, -1 wound if it's strong. Well, no, ignore mods. And like, how many times do you find yourself correcting that in let's say, a tournament play? Like, they're trying to like get you with like, oh, -1 to shoot or
Every
-1 to
single
hit.
game.
Yeah.
Every single game. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I have armor of contempt. You probably don't want to spend
Nah,
CP
don't
on
do
that.
that.
Now,
Don't
do you?
Don't do it.
Okay, what kind of player are like? And I'm always the advocate of like, and I'll speak for myself because I'm like, no, don't do that, CP. But I'm sure there's players out there saying like, yeah, sure, spend it, and ignore its
Are you
mods.
asking David what kind of player
Like,
he
so what?
is?
So what happens when somebody does that? Are you usually the one to kind of correct them? Like, you probably shouldn't be spending that because it's not going to do anything.
I'll just be like, remember ignore mods, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, of course, I'm not going to spend that.
Mhm.
I did play somebody recently who was like, if you can spend it, please spend it. And I was like, we
What?
could just skip that step and just say ignore mods. I'm
Wait,
like,
what?
Oh yeah.
Wait, he insisted on spending it? or?
He was like, no, don't tell me what to do, kind of thing. Like,
He was almost waiting to the last interaction for me to spend it, and then he was like, yeah. So he was almost like kind of baiting me into it.
He wanted you to spend.
He was treating me like I'm
sorry.
stupid,
Got
like
it.
I
Yep.
would want it. But of course, like you tell your opponent, and you're never gonna let them spend that CP, even if like.
No, not the spend.
You'll
No,
never
certainly
ever
not.
let
them
Certainly not. Because I mean that's the age-old like conversation we've had. I think 100 times before is like, what kind of player do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who like you don't want to be the gotcha guy? You don't want to be the angle shooty guy. Like you want to be the straight-up player, play them at their best, and then beat them. Right?
I want to help my opponent.
100%.
Help my opponents beat me. I want to help them.
Now there is
Especially-
for sure. Sorry, Dave. You can speak.
No,
You're the
no,
guest.
go
ahead.
Yeah, especially with Grey Knights because they have so much
For sure,
shenanigans. You help your opponent. There has not been a single game I've played where I don't remind my opponent. Remember Uppy Downy. Remember,
Yes.
when somebody ends a move within 9 inches.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to do that? I can miss.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, the game is played with intent.
Yeah.
And
Or should be. Yeah, for sure.
It should be.
Yeah.
At the highest levels, it is played with intent.
is, yeah.
Things are on the table. It's going to activate and interact as it should. And you just play it out with the rules in mind. And if you don't, then
yeah.
Especially after like a 6-day tournament, like your brain's already
Of
fogged
course.
up and stuff. So that's why the game needs to be played with intent in that way, right?
Mistakes
Because
happen.
man,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of things happening. There's you just went 5 rounds
Yep.
of different interactions, and now you have to do this again. And
on
it
your
can get
6th
taxing.
round, you're playing Grey Knights, and you're like, fuck.
You're like, God
I have to
damn.
zone out everything. I have to remember
Yeah.
True Silver. I have to remember Sigil. I have to remember
Yeah.
Mists of Demos, and it's a lot
And
at the
it-
sixth
and
round.
It can, for sure, 6th round, you're tired, your brain, you're melted and everything, but it also is like, so I've been playing a lot of Canoptek Court recently, obviously, with Necrons, and it is maybe not quite as much as Grey Knights, but it is the gotcha detachment of Necrons for sure, right?
Or
There's-
Hypercrypt?
For sure. Like, Hypercrypt has movement shenanigans, but Canoptek Court has lone op strats, reactive moves, overwatching on 5s. Like, it's got the real gotchas that, like, change games, right? And I agree with you guys entirely, 100%. You have to. And I usually have, like, a laundry list of things that I hit my opponent with right away. Hey, just so you know, these guys do this guy does this. And then during the game, certainly the first time they're getting into danger zone or reactive move zone or whatever the situation is, you obviously give them a heads up. For me personally, it's been finding that fine line, because at what point do you let your opponent make the mistake if you've warned them already?
That's
like
a good
3
question.
times?
Is it 3?
Honestly,
Is that the number?
I don't know if there's a number. It also depends on the context, right? If you're in the top table finals, to be completely honest, I'm probably going to act differently if I'm top table finals, or if I've already lost 3 games in a row and we're just dicking around at this point.
For sure, yeah.
It has to be different.
It sort of depends
good
on the
point.
opponent too, because at a lot of these tournaments, if you've hit top table, you're playing somebody you've played before with
Sure.
that army.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good point,
they should know. I will explain Mists of Demos and my uppy downy to every single opponent,
Yeah.
every game, no matter how many times I've played them, and I will remind them the first time.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's round 1,
Yeah.
I will, and I've never played them, I'll probably remind them every single time. But
Right.
if you go to round 5 or 6,
Yeah.
I'm reminding them at the start of the game, reminding them maybe once, and
That's-
after that, it's
That has to be it.
you know,
Yeah, like
you can only help your opponent so much, because even if they know about it and then they finish a move and you're like, I can miss a Demos, suddenly it clicks in their mind like, oh, he's probably Mists of Demosing,
100%. Yeah.
And I
and
think
he already knows.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's probably Mists of Demosing here. So like, you help your opponent, but at a certain point, it's up to your opponent
Yeah.
to
I agree.
figure it out. Just
I-
because they're not going to remind you.
they never have your
play-
best interest in mind.
They
There is
don't
that
have
too.
your best
Right.
interest in mind.
Right.
They have tricks too,
Yep.
and it's your responsibility to remember them at the top tables.
Yeah.
But up until then, you remind your opponent about Mists of Demos,
Yeah.
like almost every turn.
I think that's probably the most fair way. That's probably what I've landed on too. Is like, given we're assuming this is the most competitive game I'm going to play this whole tournament, right? So I'm trying to get 3rd place, 1st place, whatever it is, right? Let them know up front. Give them a warning when it first happens, and then after that, let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
Like, just make it happen.
And
right? That seems fair to me.
I played Jeremy Rose.
Yeah.
You guys know
yeah,
Jeremy
of course.
Rose.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
friends with him. He's a good player. I played him at a team tournament
Yeah,
recently.
that's right.
And he moved his Terminators up. I was like, okay. Or sorry. I moved my strikes up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm misting. And I gotcha'd myself. I was like, oh, right. You can miss within 9. I was like measuring 6 inches out. At some
It
point you need
happens.
to take
Yeah.
some accountability.
100%.
And
Sure,
that,
of
like,
course.
you know what's going on. You know the rules, and you just had a mind fuck up, and you've made your mistake. You can't really take backs. It's in poor form to take back.
Sure.
You can take back, and you certainly can let your opponent know if they forget to move something. You just let them move it. It's
For
not-
sure.
It's
Yes.
inconsequential to
Yes.
the series
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
happened within the game.
Yeah.
But,
and nothing's ever happened too. Like, say, hey, you entered the charge phase. Like, well, nothing's happened. Go
Yeah.
for
If
it,
it doesn't,
right?
change
Like,
anything, it doesn't change anything. We all know that. That's easy peasy stuff.
I
Yeah,
forgot
for
to
sure.
move. It's the serve of the shoot charge phase. I forgot to shoot. Of course, just roll your
Yeah,
dice.
do your shoot. Yeah. All good.
That's what would have happened in a top tier
Yeah.
game. So just do it.
Yeah. No,
I mean, at the end of the day,
that
we're
makes
here to
sense.
play with our toy soldiers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have fun doing it. Like, yeah, we're playing
Yeah.
competitive and we want to
Serious
win, but
business.
we are playing with a good fun environment. So you never want to change that either, because you don't want like a salty table. Not just a miserable experience when you have a salty table
For everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for everyone.
You're not having
Everyone.
fun,
The
your
TOs
opponent's
are
not having
mad.
fun, TOs are pissed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
The guys
awful.
probably beside you are actually feeding off that energy, and they're already like
for sure. Yeah.
they're sad.
They're like, what's going on over there?
Yeah, and they're not even
Right.
in their game anymore. They're just feeling the salt.
Ooh,
right?
Sometimes I've been mercifully blessed to have in like competitive play no salty games. Like I shouldn't say zero salt, but like maybe even I was salty. I was just like get my butt kicked or something like that. Like it does happen, but No drama, no nothing. But I think that's like the vibes start with you. You know what I mean? Like if the stuff you give out to your player, like your opponent, usually what you get back. If you're chill, they're usually gonna be chill, and you're all good to go, right?
For sure.
That makes sense. I wanted to touch, if you don't mind, on your. So obviously, you're second in the world right now as far as ITC scoring is concerned, right? On ITC.
What's ELO scoring?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. What's have you looked at?
I don't think you can break down faction ELO.
In
In Canada, I don't know. Yeah. I'm somewhere in like 25th or 15th
sure,
or
you're
whatever.
super
I don't know.
So you've obviously had recent success in tournaments. I think locally we've had 2 big GTs in the past month-ish or so, month and a half. We had Fool's Errand, which was how many was in Fool's Errand? That was like
32.
Yeah, pushing 35, something like that, right? Was it 32 exactly? Just
I can't remember.
Off the dome. Yeah. Cass just knows. Which you took first place.
Yes.
Which was very impressive, of course. Congratulations. Do you remember who was second and third in that one?
I think Adam Green.
Probably Adam.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that, Adam. And then the biggest one that we've had recently in Calgary here was the Alberta Classic, which was for our area a big one. That was 60, or I think it was 60. Yeah, it was 64. We had a few drops down to 58, something like that, where you placed second, third.
Sorry, which term?
The Alberta Classic.
Alberta Classic. No, I can't. I went 5. Was it 5-1? Yeah, I went 5-1. But I placed 7th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What happened
based on certain schedule?
Yep.
Right, because there was a bunch of 5-1s. There was literally only one undefeated, so there's a bunch of 5-1s.
Yeah, that's
right. That makes sense. And how did that tournament go for you? Did you stumble? Was that just?
Not
that that's
I played
not
a
impressive.
lot of tight games.
Yeah.
I remember that was a tough tournament. It was stressful. I went home after day one, just like completely exhausted. But my one loss, I don't want to blame the mission. Because Kieran's an excellent player. If you played against him,
on
super
T-Suns.
tight. He's probably the only T-Suns player I've played against that hasn't like messed up some rules. Just because there's a lot you can get wrong with T-Suns.
Yeah,
but I hit Kieran and his T-Suns on Scrambler Fields and the Ritual.
The worst.
Yeah.
And half the time when you win a tournament, I'd say more than half the time, any person who wins a tournament, they win partially because of their player skill, but it also has to do a lot with the people they match up against.
Sure it does.
Their
path.
missions that they pull, whether they go first or second, whether they roll, a 6 on their advance or they make a chart. There's so many variables that go into winning a tournament. And so the tournaments I've won, I every single tournament I've placed well in, it's because I got lucky. You can say that to every single person that has won a tournament.
Right.
Player skills, probably 60% of that.
Didn't we? But in Fool's Errand, I think round 2, it was Scramble Fields Ritual.
Did we?
What'd you go against round 2?
I'd have to pull.
Yeah, that was a while.
But
I remember that was it because I went against Custodes, Liam's Custodes, and it was Scramble Fields Ritual, and that was pretty crazy. And you ended up getting second place in that one.
I think, funnily enough, we pulled Ritual and Scrambler Fields, and I think I faced the Grey Nightmare in that.
Oh,
funny now. Okay,
yeah.
There you go.
That does sound kind of familiar.
And this goes back to
it was Jeremy Rose also.
This goes back to
there you
exactly what we're talking about, where it does line up to your matchups, and so I went against the Grey Knights. Well, this is also a bad mission for him.
Yeah.
So now
right.
it goes to skill level at that point.
Yeah, player skill, you're 100% right. 60%. I mean, I would argue to say it's at least player skill can probably get you 75% of the way for sure.
It's impossible.
Let's call it 3/4. Of course, it's impossible.
It's always the same people in the top, right?
Right.
There's a reason for
which
that.
indicates their player skill has a huge impact. But you're 100% right. Luck
but sometimes those people will go 3-2. Occasionally they'll go 3-2. Like you'll see a 5-0 player go 3-2 occasionally.
Yeah.
You'll see them usually go 4-1. And sometimes they go 5-0, and that's only because they hit the right win path and they went first on a certain mission or they went second on a certain mission.
Yeah.
It's all luck.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you can just have fun playing this game.
That's true.
Because half of it's luck.
Yeah, but winning is fun, Dave. I want to win.
Winning is fun, but
But you're 100% correct.
Having a close game where you lose by 1 point, in my opinion, is also a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker. Yeah, that's a heartbreaker. But it is fun. Yeah, that's 100% correct. When at the end of the game, when you're like, holy, win or lose, if you're like, holy crap, that was a slobber knocker. Like that was a hard game. It does feel good. There's some satisfaction there for sure.
There is some satisfaction that, like, if it came down to a dice roll, you would have won.
Right.
And you kind of take the moral victory.
Yes.
Because if I rolled a 4 up, I would have won, and I just didn't. Because that happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But to even put yourself in that situation, right? Like now you're in the situation. I need a 4 up to win. It's probably it's better odds than most.
That's a great position.
Yeah,
I'll take a 4 up to win any game.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
day.
I win on the dice roll.
I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said too, like there's some great missions like Purge the Foe, best to go second.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Vital Ground, best to go first. Right. There's different ones that kind of change back and forth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. OP going second.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Priority OP for that for sure. Yeah.
But the most recent tournament you played in, I think, is the an Edmonton event, the Trident Team Open, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Where our teams faced off at least, and you had some popular names on your team. So podcast listeners will be familiar with Adam Green. Obviously, we had Aiden on, and then your fourth, I think, hasn't been on the show, but he was playing. What was he playing for you guys?
He was playing Death Guard. So Chris is a really good player. He's always placed really well, but he's in Edmonton and he lives a little more remote, so he doesn't get to come to all the Calgary events. He has a couple of young kids, so he's
got a life. He's got a whole ass life going on. But it was a very fun teams event. That was 8 teams of 4, so not like a huge
not
event.
A huge one.
But we don't get. It's getting better and better, and there's more popping up here and there. But we don't get a ton of teams events in Alberta, so that was super cool. It was my first teams event. We went against you guys at one point. I was gonna say you were talking about the Grey Knight mirror match. I think, did we pick the mirror match into you, or did you pick the mirror match? I think we threw Jeremy into you.
You threw Jeremy into me because he had the 2 units of librarians with Terminators.
That's
smart.
Which I don't like because they have a 4 healing pain against psychic attacks. And basically, I won that game.
Yep.
But if he had made a 9-inch rerollable, I would have lost it.
I was gonna say I remember you saying that. So like on the heels of the winning the game on a 4, I think you even said it was like early in the game too. Wasn't like turn 3 or something like that. Like
turn 2.
Was it turn 2?
I left a big area open for him. I just kind of, like you played the Grey Knight Mirror. There's so many opportunities to make a mistake.
Right.
And so I just left a big brick right there where his big unit of paladins could charge my Drago and Terminators. Just wasn't thinking. Sometimes that happens. You just start. I may be second in the world,
but we're all human.
But I do not play a perfect. I've never played a perfect game of Warhammer.
Sure.
I've never ever played a perfect game of Warhammer. My success has come, mostly from luck, and you can say that for every person that's ever won a tournament. So I left a big opening for him to drop 10 Terminator or Paladins with a Ignore modifier Grandmaster that could have charged my 10 brick of Terminators with Drago and basically pick them up because I can't AOC them. He could free Dev Wound strat. I think on average it picks up about 8 Terminators.
Right.
So my clapback is
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah, right.
Is nothing. And of course he failed it.
Yeah.
And that basically allowed me to
back.
course correct.
Yeah.
And so his unit of Terminators was on my home objective. It's a 600-point unit.
Yeah.
Or Paladin, sorry.
Yeah.
And they're scoring him a few primary, but if they're not killing things and picking up 600 points equivalent, it's not enough to win the game. So it's teams. Obviously, you just want to score points really and make that game as even as possible. So I think I ended up winning that 12-8.
Oh,
yeah,
close.
It was
super close.
Yeah, it was close-ish.
Yeah. So when it comes to list building, when it comes between solo and teams, what are some of the decisions that you made for your team list as opposed to a solo list?
I didn't.
I was gonna say it's the same.
No. I transitioned from the Paladins to the Terminators.
Gotcha. Right.
For a singles event, and then the teams event was the next weekend. So I just didn't change it because the lists were due on the Saturday of the singles event.
That's right.
I just didn't really have the brain power to change it. Yeah. In hindsight, I would have brought the Paladin brick because Ignore Mods is just better in teams.
It's just better?
Yeah.
Because you suddenly have play into anything with the AOC, Catans, anything with like free 1 CP -1 to hits, and like built-in -1 to wound, which, funnily enough, is I think what lost me my one loss in that team tournament was Votann, because they have the Terminator bricks have a built-in -1 to wound with the character, and then they have AOC. So I charged foolishly 10 Terminators and Drago into a Terminator brick and did very little just because I wasn't wearing those mods.
Right.
If I had the Paladin brick, that just picks up a unit of Terminators, like no problem.
That's a very good point. Yeah, and that's as Cass was saying, like when you're going into a team's event, your Grey Knights list, I would assume, so for those who are not super familiar with like differential scoring and the team's meta, and it's a little bit different obviously than solos, in like the simplest terms, you have armies that are like your defenders, who are not looking to like push crazy scores, but keep it close. Not that your list, I assume, as most Grey Knights would be a defender type list. Is that correct? Or
not
did you play it
necessarily.
differently?
So we had Aiden with his Necrons, and it was a Silent King Necrons, and then we had Chris with his Death Guard, and those were sort of like we throw them into the bad matchups because we know like worst case scenario they're gonna get 8 and 12'd, and if they win,
That's
great.
smart.
Whereas Adam ran Votann with 2 Terminator bricks, and I ran Grey Knights, and we were. The list that were sort of 18 and 2ing, 20 and 0.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, I know when we played, Jeremy was termed as one of our defenders. So was I with Canoptech Court. But you were playing obviously a slightly different version of Grey Knights, but you're playing it more aggressively, I would imagine. Like you're trying to push score, right? You've got your defenders and your Necrons and your Death Guard. You're there to go beat somebody up.
Yeah. I've been told I play Grey Knights a little differently in that lots of people sacrifice units for points. I will never sacrifice a unit for points because we have so few. My strikes are... I'm going to get output even out of my units that are supposed to play the objective, no matter what. If I have lost a unit because I've overextended them or I exposed them, like that's just a mistake on my part. I've never meant to do that.
Right.
That's just... something my opponent has
capitalized on.
Exactly.
Right. Gotcha.
Whereas a lot of other Grey Knight players will like throw a strike squad to get homers in the deployment zone and behind. And in my opinion, you can't do that.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Because just kind of like trying to mentally remember your list. Your list has what? 9 units? 10 units?
Wow. 9 units, yeah.
9 units, exactly.
Wow.
Both the iterations had 9 units.
Impressed.
Yeah.
You remembered.
I remembered. Right. So, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, 100%. You have 9 units on the board. You're not throwing away anything, really. You can't.
No.
Can't afford to.
No. If you have picked up a unit without them getting value, I have made a mistake.
Right. Makes perfect sense.
So when you're thinking, too, are you always trying to look for a trade? So if you are going to throw them away, are you trying to look for a trade up, or what are you trying to look for?
No, I'm never looking for a trade. I'm always looking for an opportunity to get value out of a unit without losing it. So I will take some cases. I will take 3 Dread Knights. I will pick an angle, and they'll shoot at like a Riptide, for example.
Right.
Sure.
And if you want to shoot back at them, you have to move something into line of sight to deal with them. So
right, cutting your angles like you were talking about.
And sometimes you won't have the movement to get output onto them, and even if you do get output onto them, you might do nothing because you don't have a bunch of units getting line of sight on 3 Dread Knights.
Right.
It is very the stars need to align on that,
of course,
but that's what you're trying to do. You're just playing Grey Knights. You're trying to get value out of your units without giving them up.
100%. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, when you have some few units, you're not even thinking trading this for that. You're like, I'm going to get value because I'm going to guarantee the return is not enough.
I choose when I give up a unit.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It should be noted that you guys did win that tournament, that team's tournament as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
It was a super fun tournament too. I got to say, like there was I think they said like 60% of the people that attended that tournament were from out of town. Like we had people from Cold Lake, from Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
It was in Edmonton, but we came up from Calgary. Like it was a good little like slice of Western Canada. It was actually really super cool.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's another one coming up here in July. right?
Yes.
During Stampede, which is
Edmonton's doing one in July. No,
it's in
that's
Calgary.
the one in town. That's the
Yeah,
triples.
it's in Calgary.
Triples,
right.
yeah.
We doing
Yeah.
triples?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
in?
You and Aiden were talking about it. That's
yeah.
right.
We're gonna do something fun just because I'm kind of getting tired of playing Grey Knights.
Sure.
I'm gonna play some weird Admech list. He's
Oh,
gonna
cool.
play a
That's
weird
right.
Necrons list, and
Cool.
I did see it.
our
That's
friend
fun.
Matt Sector, who was on the Tau,
Yes.
is probably gonna play like Retaliation
Cool.
or
No, he's going
or
crude. Yeah, he's going crude.
Well, I was gonna say
He's been paying them like crazy. Like he wants to do that crude. I think.
Oh,
wants
has
to
he
do
been doing fruit? Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I like the last couple times I've placed his like I think I only went against his new Monka once, but because the other time he played his Necrons with me and he just did Hypercrypt and it was so funny. So we were playing and I'm like, oh, we got Monolith Hypercrypt, hey? I bet you I'm gonna do the LVO thing and like I'm never gonna leave you 3 inches with your Monolith.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I was doing something stupid. I just forgot about it and I did it. His Monolith got my deployment zone within 3 inches. I was like, yeah, I actually just did that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's fine. If someone can do it in the finals of LVO, you're allowed to do it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's fine. Doesn't matter.
It was
You're
pretty
free
funny.
pass.
I was trying to play this like new Plague Marine MSU list, and I didn't really like it. But anyways, yeah, we still had a fun time. But I recently went against his Monka list too, and it's hard. Like I can't believe how fast they are.
Oh, they're fucking crazy fast. They're nuts.
Oh, he can get in your deployment zone and shoot you off your objective. Turn 1, no problem.
Yeah, if you let him do it, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
no problem. But I ended up going with him with my sister's list.
Okay.
I think it was like it was a close game. It's super close. It came down to I think I denied him on 1 primer, and that was really what it got.
To,
Yeah,
like, wow.
yeah, it was nuts. And you guys, he's been showing me yours. It was like within like 2 points one time.
Yeah. Matt's a great Tau player. It's
nuts.
When you play against your friends, they have seen how you play, and so it's always a really close game.
That's a good point.
And people say play against other people if you want to practice. I say play against your friends because they're going to be your hardest games every single time.
I hadn't even considered that before, but that's very true. Yeah, they know your idiosyncrasies, they know your tendencies, they know like, oh, Ben likes to fucking yeet Transcendent Catan in the backfield and just make you deal with it. I did that to Cass in the tournament we played the one time.
Oh yeah.
He didn't deal with it last time. What's he gonna do next time?
Right, 100%. Yeah. I do it very often. It's like my favorite thing to do.
What's our thing? Like we always get sick of playing each other because we're always round 3. We're always paired up each other.
Saturday, game 3.
Yeah.
We're both tired. We're both fucking done with the day.
Let's go.
Where's Cass? I don't fucking.
Yeah, where are you? Okay, let's set up. It's actually the same table too. This one
was maybe the same table. Actually.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
So we kind of touched. I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but we do have rules changes coming. We have the Pariah Nexus mission pack dropping here at the end of the month within the next couple weeks. Coming up pretty quick.
June 22nd, I think it releases.
They put an actual number on it, like official.
Yeah, because it's coming out with the GC Sealer Cult and the Sisters Codex.
Right.
And then the Data Slate and the MVF are all coming out all at the same time.
Points changes.
So you're going to get the mission changes, point changes, rule changes,
crazy,
and 2 new codexes all at the same time. And then they're going to try to streamline it, I think, a little bit where then 3 months from now, there'll be a point change, and then 6 months there'll be another rule change again.
Right. They're basically doing like a reset. Like here's the season being done, and then we're gonna go back to our 3 and 3 kind of thing.
It definitely got a little messy with the Chaos Space Marines Tau Codex.
Sure.
And Custodes.
And Custodes.
They all coming out. It kind of got a little messy,
Yeah.
Especially with the points. Like the fact that the Chaos Space Marines and Custodes both got their points before Tau did.
Right.
Which
Tau
is
had
weird.
their book out, but then they didn't have the points, and it's super weird. Yeah.
It was super strange.
So with that in mind, we don't have to, because I think we are probably going to dedicate a whole episode to like Pariah Nexus changes and stuff. But while we've got you here, Dave, I definitely want to touch on if Grey Knights. You say Grey Knights are overpowered, so logically they're going to get nerfed. What do you think that looks like? Is it points? Is it? Cause we just got points, so probably not points. What do you think changes coming up here the next few?
And
weeks?
just so you know, it's probably going to print. So if Games Workshop's listen to this, they're not changing anything.
Let's hope so.
James is listening.
I did
now.
say 5 up field no pain for Arcos, and look at that. Yeah, I know. I said it on there. I should have done it.
Messed up.
Sorry, guys.
You fucked up.
Grey Knights are one of those armies where they have so many rules that you almost need to rewrite the book to fix them. Luckily, they're getting some new rules this summer, so they say. So that should address the problem. But in the short term, like Dread Knights get points increases. I think that's fairly obvious. They could go up to 210. They're just so good in the right, like, if you use them correctly, they're just like a scalpel. 3 damage in 3 phases.
Right.
And you can have the ability to, like, you just can't kill it. You miss them out. They're just so good.
I don't think you increase the points on like paladins or termies. I don't think you do it. I think they're already costed pretty fairly.
Well, with the changes to battle line with Pariah,
right.
Terminators do probably need to go up because in my opinion, they might be the best battle line unit in the game.
100%.
I don't disagree, actually.
Yeah. No. What are they at for points?
So they're 210 right now.
For 10?
For 5.
Okay.
They're OC 15 with those 5 models, and
Right.
they can bring a model back in the command phase. They're okay in combat. They're not good in shooting, but they're resilient.
Yeah.
And they're OC3. So that's really all you need. And you throw characters in there, suddenly they get better. Librarians give you some output in the shooting phase, and they can shoot in combat and shoot out of combat.
Right.
And they're just a really good unit, and they'll need to get touched for them not to be too good. We don't know everything with Pariah Nexus, but you can safely assume they're going to be very good.
Oh yes, like battle line are going to be very good. There's like
Is there a world where you run 5-man units, just a bunch of them around?
Yeah.
like a
Oh,
MSU,
for sure. Yeah.
MSU Grey Knights type thing.
that was our
As best
version?
you can, as best you can, right?
Lots
Like you go up to
people-
9 to 12 units as opposed to 9 units. Yeah.
Right,
Lots
yeah,
of people
yeah.
were already considering it without character support, just
Right.
because it's 210, 15 OC. You bring a model back, and you can't just charge them and have no consequences.
Yep.
And they're hard to remove with the 2 up, 4 up, and
Oh,
you
for
have
sure.
access to true silver. Hide them behind a wall, like nothing's dealing with
Yeah,
them.
incidental shooting is never doing anything.
You need to commit a good amount of resources to
Yeah.
deal with them.
Makes sense. Yep.
And at 210, like, there's a list I was brewing where you just take 2 units with no character support, and they just hold 2 primaries the entire game.
Yes, the Necron Wraith strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Plop my blob
so
here.
is Grey
they
Knights and
don't
Necron
move,
just the
they
same
chill.
same fucking army?
Apparently,
Like,
we're crossing the streams now.
like
so.
yeah, you got Hypercrypt, and then you got
Yeah.
Wraith, and then you
Yeah,
got Termies.
that's
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Points changes on Dread Knights. And anything else you think? Maybe a touch to Terminators points wise. Do you see rules changes? Maybe not.
If they were smart, which GW rarely is. Sorry
Ouch.
if you're listening,
Shots fired.
GW.
James is pissed.
Yeah, you don't listen, so I'll just say, there probably won't be points changes. You need to fix this army. It is too good in the right hands. Like, there's too many movement shenanigans you can do. The uppy downy on 3 units is too much.
Oh,
I think if you can just limit to 2 uppy downy, that kind of fixes the army.
Interesting.
Because you can't suddenly line up 3 Dread Knights on something. You can't, suddenly you have to compromise.
Yep.
In a unit, in an army that, in my opinion, is a little too easy to play right now.
What if it's something similar like what Hypercrypt does now? You go down to 2, like you're saying, and then there's an enhancement that gives you 3.
Sure, but you'll take that enhancement every game.
time.
Sure,
You're
but-
taking a 25-point tax, like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Is it really doing much? The
Yeah, it
25
doesn't do
points?
No, it's not
Yeah.
doing enough.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Maybe coupled with points changes, and suddenly, like, you're running with 8 units instead of 9, and, like, then it's not worth uppy downing 3
Right.
in any given turn. You can only do 2. Then sure, yeah, that could be a solution.
Okay. Yeah. What about like, increasing maybe a CP of like maybe Mist goes to 2.
No. Don't do that.
No.
You know what? Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Hold
yeah,
on.
I think it's
that
your
could
best
be a good
strategy.
solution.
Hold on,
yeah.
you're willing to give up a whole unit uppy downy, but you're not willing to give up 1 more CP for Mist.
Yeah. Here it is.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of balancing that needs to be done. Like, if you had access to an extra CP off a character sort of thing,
Right.
then you could do that. But I'm
You
not
can
going to
take-
give
yeah,
GW
you
the
can-
benefit of the doubt.
you
They fuck up every single time.
Oh.
So, like,
That's crazy.
like,
You can
just
just
balance,
Have you noticed too? Like when they're releasing 2 codex at a time, one is good, one is bad.
Yeah.
It's like
It
it's like
has
so. If
been
you know
that
your
way.
codex is
Yeah.
coming, if
It
you know
has
your
been
codex
that
is
way.
coming out,
You're just hoping. You're just holding on.
it's a
for
flip, it's a
50-50.
coin flip.
Yeah,
For a
Yeah.
piece, yeah.
Because Necron's Admech, we know who won out of that.
Yeah.
Orcs, Custodies. We know who won on that. Sisters, GSC.
We know who won.
It's looking like who won.
Oh no, 100%.
Is that the?
Dude,
that's the
if
three
you
double releases,
saw
right?
these, no, they're. I would argue that it's
Yeah.
the best codex in the game.
The
Sisters, 100%. It's
it yet.
absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
There is a
I'm
detachment.
I'm terrified.
So the way the detachment kind of works is similar to doctrines. Let's get myself on here.
Yeah, what's
'Cause
up?
I'm the one talking. It's similar to doctrines, but it's called vows. And it's a penitent detachment. So they added a new keyword called penitent. So that's arcoflagellants, pentant engines, repentia, and mortifiers.
Right.
Now you could
all your
spam them
girls,
whatever
yeah.
you want. So it only really affects them. So that is the downside.
Right.
But the 3 vows or the 3 doctrines are increasing move by 3 inch. Okay, so you do that turn 1, and you already have you have a 10-inch now move arcoflagellant. Okay.
Right.
The second one is you increase the attacks and strength of all penitent models.
All those things.
So
yeah.
you already have sustained on arcos and repentia, and penitent engines.
Love it.
Yeah.
They get to wall.
Now the craziest one, the third one,
Okay.
fight on death, 2 up,
Army
army wide,
2 up? What?
penitents.
And this
What
is
now?
so it's like a doctrine where you get it once per game, right? Once. Like
But there's
the
a
whole
stratagem,
battle
but you can
round,
give it to
of
somebody
course,
else.
you give it to
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right. A
Fight on death.
2 up.
Repentia is still bad, right?
No, they're better. They're better. So in Index, they get full rerolls of hit and wound on the charge. Now they have that static. Okay, strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage. They hit on 4s, sustain 1s. So essentially 3 ups.
2
Yeah.
attacks or 3 attacks?
Well, 3 in the vow.
Right. on
That's pretty good.
on
How
the
many
walk
points is
turn.
that unit?
160 now.
It's pretty
I think
good.
it was 100. I was looking at the points. 160 now, which is more than it was. But then Arcos are go down to 120, and now there's a stratagem as well that all penitent models gets critical hits on 5s, so he sustains on 5s.
Sorry, what's the AP on this?
-2.
It's pretty gross.
That's nutty. Oh, that's scary, man. That's
It
very
is
scary.
kind of an expensive package with the Rhino. And do you put a
Sure.
character in there or no? Just
You can put in. Okay. Okay.
Okay, just you wait.
So, what else you can do is there's another CP strat. Now it is a battle tactic. Keep this in mind.
Yep.
Canoness can join Repentia. You
Right.
give her the penitent keyword, and then she gives you devastating wounds.
bruh. That's the last thing I wanted to hear.
Woo! And she can join the unit.
Jesus.
So then she gets full hit rolls of hits and wounds.
Seems pretty good.
Wow, that does seem pretty fucking good.
Seems expensive package, but
sure.
like
and it's
That's 210.
also-
That's
it's
210. That's
also
one of your
fragile.
Terminators.
It's also very
plus a
fragile.
Rhino.
Well,
Yeah.
Cass is just gonna yield
Not
up-
really.
yield up
Just
the board.
hide it.
Just listen. The Rhino
don't
doesn't
need
get
the
the
Rhino.
+3 movement.
You get
Do-
3 inch movement.
Yeah.
Did they die
who
to
needs
stiff
it?
freeze though?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's
100%.
T3, 5
Fragile
field
as
of
fuck.
pain, 6 of involved.
So they punch up.
Oh, yeah,
wow,
they have to,
wildly
yeah.
punch up.
They're
Yeah.
straight up.
They have to, exactly.
But you just rapid ingress them, and then you can auto 6 their charge.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Auto 6 their charge? Oh, with
Miracle Dice.
Miracle Dice, of course. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
what the?
Oh, there's also that too.
Yes, what more Miracle
Miracle
Dice?
Dices, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also Miracle Dice. is
Yeah,
still
also
a-
that.
Also still a thing.
Oh.
Well, and like I think that's probably a spot for us to touch on some of the so upcoming changes will be Sisters Codex. Has anybody? You said Cass, you're familiar with the GSC Codex, or is anybody here?
No,
familiar with the GSC Codex?
you know what? I got confused when I was reading. Like I glossed over it.
Yeah.
And I got confused. Like, are they even an army anymore? Because they're just adding like Astra Mill stuff to it and
Ouch.
Chaos.
Ooh,
So
shots
I-
fired. Shots fired.
No. I mean, like, I don't even know if they're real. Like, I think that they're part of like
No,
other
no
armies.
shots fired, but you're bullshit and you suck.
I don't get it. I don't get the codex.
Maybe you just don't get it. Maybe you just don't get it.
Maybe I need to gloss over some more. Maybe I actually need to
I need
read
to
it and just like
gloss over
gloss.
it. We
Yeah.
need to have somebody on to explain it to us. I think is what
Yeah.
probably we need to
Yeah,
do.
well, maybe Gordon
Dave,
will know.
Dave, what do you, GSC Codex? No? Yes, no?
I was on Facebook today and I
Yes.
saw some people very upset about it, and that's the extent of what I know
Yeah,
about
that's
GSC.
about the extent of mine too,
People, if I did my homework, if we did our homework, we would know more. But
Not on the show.
no.
It's
Ben's
not that kind
shaking
of
his
show.
head.
It's not that
No.
kind of show.
I don't know much.
Yeah.
All I
No.
know is Sisters are awesome.
We're
right
milking
now.
it for content. We know nothing right now, but we're going to have a guest on
Yeah.
to
yeah.
explain it to us.
Actually, David's going to be a resident GCO cult
Dave,
expert. All of a sudden,
Dave, get on it.
Oh, I love moving around like 140 models in a game.
Woo, so much
Yeah.
fun.
That's
But More broadly, other than the 2 codexes, we have a new what's it called? A new mission pack, a new mission deck.
Pariah Nexus.
The new Pariah Nexus. So the Necrons are taking over. The Pariah Nexus is messing everybody up. And we've got a combination of new, somewhat different deployments. It's pretty similar.
It's better, I think. They're getting rid of the diagonals for the most part. I think they kept Crucible.
Kinda. Well, they kept them, but they made them not diagonal. So they are like lengthwise down the board, but instead of being like a diagonal, they're like a step. So it's like they're all squared off. So
they're basically doing deployments within side quadrants.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some zoning
exactly.
redistribution.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, how annoying is it to measure at sweeping engagement?
I thought they were one of the easier ones to measure, but because you just hold your tape measure across the whole
you
table.
ask the opponent to do it.
There's room for error there.
Though.
Like if you're playing World Eaters, for example,
sure,
it's like
error.
I have a 22-inch movement with Angron. It's like if you've made some measuring errors, like
that can get messy.
It could fuck up.
For
but
sure. Yeah, now that's fair. It'll be more exact now. And also there's that little corner on those little diagonal deployments where you can kind of fit a model there sometimes, and then sometimes if you measure it wrong, you can't fit it. And like now that they're more straight and obvious, it's a little bit more easier. Sure.
Yeah.
So deployments didn't change wildly. Obviously, the big changes that they've released is like the whole actions. Right, I know actions.
Well, they brought the word action back.
They actually brought it back, right?
Yeah.
So in 9th edition, for those 9th players, it was a whole full thing. In 10th edition, apparently they tried to go away from actions, but everybody just called them actions anyway. Yeah. So now they're back. And the biggest changes off the top of the dome are no advancing and doing actions unless you are a battle line in a specific mission rule. No pistols doing actions. No. What else?
Assault. Did you say assault?
I said assault.
Okay.
Advancing and doing actions, right? No assault.
Yeah, assault.
Yeah.
There is Titanic can do it.
Titanic characters.
Titanic characters can shoot and do an action,
which is very specific. We've kind of mentioned
it helps the
before.
Knights. It's a little bit of a buff.
I mean,
right?
We'll take it.
No OC zeros can't.
That's a big one,
right? Notably Nurglings, Death Company.
Nurglings, Death Company,
potentially Scarabs,
Fenrisian Wolves. But I think Fenrisian Wolves, and I know Scarabs for sure, can't have a way to get OC, so you're probably okay. I'll be curious, actually. What do you think of Nurglings with no actions?
I don't want to run them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're at 40 points, and maybe there's a world where I do run it, like, if because I don't have any infiltrators, maybe that's what it is. I'd really have to play the missions. I'd really have to understand, the way to deployment mode and like what the mission packs are to then make a decision. Because at first glance, no, because I'm now their utility was to do actions and sit on a point and do stuff, and now it's not happening. Like I can't go fixed and deploy anymore. Right. So
literally can't deploy in the middle, can't deploy nowhere. Yeah, that's it.
Right. So do I waste 80 points on that, or do I find a way to fit another 90-point Plague Marine squad in? Yeah. Right. Or whatever the points are coming
out. Some kind of deep striking. Does Death Guard have any kind of load
just another Rhino? Just get another Rhino for that. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So which is again better because it does do actions.
You could justify one unit maybe for like the melee -1 hit and
the infiltrate on like stopping World Eaters, some scouting, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that depends.
World Eaters are now that the deployments have gone closer together and their threat range has effectively increased. You're probably going to see more World Eater players.
Oh, that's fair, actually.
And their win rate might increase, but it's speculation at this point.
And I think if it was anything like the Classic, when there was a lot of World Eater players and thousands of players, if it's anything like that, then we maybe I actually add 2 in, so then I can just do that line right in front, so it stops some scouting moves and it stops their movement in some regard. Yeah, which is their biggest strength. Well, besides combat, but you know what I mean. Like it's them getting into my face so quickly that me putting that line up, Lord Avocado, can't do much.
There's so many units that don't like -1 to hit. Also, like so many armies really.
Well, and it stacks with the. It stacks with
contagion.
The contagion. Yeah. So that could be something too. I always like that with Typhus too. When attached to your unit, it's -1 to melee. There's a Nurgling around. It's really good. And then they're also -1 to wound if they're stronger because they're attached to death shrouds. So it's like all these little mods.
Admech's like, I'm hitting on 6s now.
Why? But here's my problem with the -1 weapon skill, blitz skill, where 90% of the time I'm actually taking armor save. The reason is it's actually in my control, where the weapon skill, blitz skill is more in the opponent's control because they
For
can just
sure,
go
yeah.
right outside the contagion and do their shooting anyways, and then do the charge. Like now, if it's turn 2, it's only a 6-inch or contagion aura, so your charge isn't that bad anyways. So you can get out there, shoot, and then still get in that charge. Where when it's armor save, it's more of a proactive thing for me, where I can try to get in your face, which I want to be anyways, and then increasing my killiness because a dead model does do less damage than a guy with -1 weapon skill. Straight up.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know
No,
about that.
no, I think the math is good on that. I think I think that's correct.
And
Yeah.
then it allows my opponent to, and if I'm going against a good player, they're just going to be out of the contagion, and it's actually now in their control. So one of my best rules in my army is now on my opponent, and in their control. So going armor safe in most cases is what I do. Against like Canoptic, because it's 4 up everywhere
Yes.
on the Canoptic. I would go -1 weapon skill because I am going to be in your face anyways with all those wraiths.
You
But
got the 4 up involved with the wraiths anyways. So.
exactly. So there's some instances, but it really just depends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyways,
Canoptic
that's
is,
my Death Guard rant.
I was gonna
This
say,
is a Grey Knight focus that I.
we're-
It's about
Hey,
me now.
Grey Knights don't like that either.
We're
so.
free balling.
We like -1 save, yeah, against Grey Knights because your resilience is so good.
The -1 to hit is not a terrible choice either. Like I can see a universe where you pick that also because everything's a 4 up invul anyway. So if you're already AP too, so
True. Yeah. I guess I would just have to stay like.
it is sort of list dependent, and you would pick that if you had a very good knowledge on the Grey Knight list. Otherwise, you probably just pick -1 to save.
Yeah, it's a safer bet for sure. And then exactly right. Like if I knew, he's gonna go this way, actually like he's gonna be in my face and be really aggressive. Probably go for the weapon skill, blitz skill. Yeah.
We touched on deployments. There's some new missions, like primary missions. There's I don't know them all off the top of my head quite yet. I think we'll probably do a whole episode on just Pariah Nexus, but
I think there's more they come out too, right? Because they're not in our hands, and
they're not in our hands. There's already some YouTube videos and stuff like with the actual cards like revealed. No, it's not a secret at this point anymore. But we'll definitely like sit down and like crunch some numbers and stuff. But the focus is obviously on Battle Line. There's no more Chilling Rain. One notable change. There's no more Chilling Rain.
Yeah,
so every game is going to have a special rule.
Love it.
Now you like that? Hey, you like that change?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Why?
Why is that? You
Chilling
bored?
Rain's just so boring.
Yeah, sure.
At this very start of 10th, before the competitive mission pack was really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You just roll your missions out.
Just do it. Yeah.
And that was really
Randomize.
the first month of it. But every single mission was unique, and it felt not that it didn't feel fresh at the time. It's gonna feel every game's gonna feel fairly fresh.
For
I
sure.
like that.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, because look at us at like Nephilim. Like it was like, we're doing this mission again, and it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right? You know exactly how to play it. Now there's a whole bunch because of the amount of interweaving they all go
Yeah.
with the mission rules.
Yeah, and they will, like you said, they will eventually come up with like the tournament official, like the legit competitive stuff. But now,
Hopefully no
having said that-
Vox static though. The CP
no
reroll 2
Vox
CP.
static.
Yeah.
Scrambler fields.
No,
maybe.
no scrambler
Easy.
fields. No, you're good on
Fingers
scrambler fields. The mission
Easy.
rules are.
Whoa. Whoa.
You're free. You're free from scrambler fields. You're good. You did your time. You're out.
It did my time.
You did your time. You're out. There's going to be a special rule in every mission, but the special rules are not as impactful. They're pretty basic stuff. Like some of them are battle line focused. There's one that's like if your battle line units are in combat, they can do actions, or if your battle line units advance, they can do actions.
Heroic for free.
Heroic for free is one of them.
Some
Heroic for free is some
Horn
of them.
Berserkers heroicing for free. Gross.
But
Can a MOE do that anyways?
With an
No.
enhancement.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
And people usually don't take that. They might take it more now, but
you don't
There's an
take- you don't
opponent
take
that I know that plays World Leaders that does take it.
yeah.
Frazier.
So handsome.
Mr. Number One.
So handsome.
So handsome.
Yeah, and you know what? The way he uses it, it's really cool because it's almost like this unspoken threat. So it's like it's right there, and then people don't want to charge because
Right.
like I have a free heroic
Yeah, I'm gonna
intervention.
get
They're
you.
like, well, if I do this, you can do it. Yeah, maybe. And then they don't charge, and then all of a sudden you're like in this position where they're wide open, and you can make that charge.
It's kind of like a Cold War
I was gonna say,
situation
mutual-
where
Yeah.
mutually
like
assured
it's
destruction.
there,
Yeah,
but it's probably not going to do too much.
but I could do.
It could do much.
I could get you.
Maybe you could like roll a bunch of sixes,
Yeah.
but it's probably not doing much.
Yeah, mission rules are definitely a thing. The secondaries have changed a fair amount. There's like some of your old standbys, like extend battle lines is still a thing, defend strongholds still a thing. A bunch of them are unchanged. The one thing that's an interesting change is more of like a, not a specific mission change, but more of like a how the deck is constructed change, is you can still do fixed, you can still do tactical, obviously. We know Cass loves his fixed. I'm a big fan of tactical. Grey Knights do tactical all day.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Pussies.
So you know how it was previously in Leviathan, the points were different. Like if you chose a mission and you did it tactical, you would get more points typically. You get a little bump, a 1 or 2 point bump depending on the card.
Yeah, I think deploy was like 5 as opposed to 4.
They've changed it.
Oh.
It's the same now. They've bumped all the points down. So we're going to see a lot. The trend should be towards lower scoring games generally. Not only are the primary missions lower scoring and harder to score in most cases, but the secondaries are no longer, if you go tactical, you don't get that extra bump. They're all scored the same whether you take fixed or secondary or tactical.
It's going to make for a lot of closer games.
A lot closer games, like little mistakes here and there. The momentum is going to be a huge deal. There's a lot of like quality of life improvements. So for example, on Purge the Foe, you know how you could get kill 1, kill more in the first turn, and if you went against a somewhat inexperienced player, or they got like area denial first turn, they're like yeeting something into the middle of the board, you're like, sweet, you got 5 points, I get 8, right? That was kind of a crappy interaction. They've actually changed it where you can get kill 1 in the first round, but you can't get kill more.
That's really good.
So
that's great.
They've done a really good job
change.
so far, and I do want to dig into it at some point. They've done a really good job of like ironing out some of the awkward, painful, feels bad moments. Another good example is capture enemy outpost is not a thing anymore. Not
Oh,
a
really?
Card. Not a card.
Okay.
Gonzies.
Thank goodness.
I hate that one, like last draw, like turn 5, and it just happened to be there.
Draw,
Turn 1?
turn.
Yeah, it's
Oh, turn 1, yeah.
Yeah, first turn's way worse.
they're cognizant that they're trying to
CP.
make go first win rate and go second win rate as close to 50% as possible, and they're doing a good job of that. They're fucking up in all other sorts of places.
Yeah.
But GW, like, this is the best addition for competitive play
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
by far.
Nice.
It's not even close. They're
Nice.
actually cognizant of competitive play right now, and that decision is just evidence based on that. You know?
Yeah, they've done a great job at like hearing the feedback and like working on it, because another good example. So no capture enemy outpost, but a good example is like so bring it down. I know certainly in some like top level play, you would build lists that give no bring it down. So if your opponent went if your opponent went tactical, they draw bring it down, it's a dead card. Literally cannot score. There's now a condition on a lot of the cards now, including bring it down, and I think there's a couple of ones I can't think off the top of my head, but on bring it down it says if your opponent has no vehicles, no monsters, you can just discard this card and draw a new one.
Good.
And you can do it twice
That's
now.
great.
You can do it twice.
Discarding? So
You-
you can actually...
Yeah, you can discard without a CP. You can discard it.
That's a special rule. So that's a mission special rule, specifically.
No, it's a whole thing.
I think that's a mission special rule, but you can new orders every round. Might be what
But
you're
only
thinking
twice in a game.
Arm wrestle.
I don't
Right
know. No. I'm pretty sure you can do it
I
twice
think
now.
you're mixing up two of the...
I might be.
There's a mission special rule where you get to do it twice for free, and then in any game at all times, you can new orders, if you're playing tactical, every single round for 1 CP. If you wanted to rotate a tactical every single turn, you can do that now.
So you can hit all 16.
There's 18 cards now, but yes.
Could you hit all 18 then?
No,
I think you're 3 out.
No, right? 5 times 3.
Yeah, no, you're out by 3. Interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be learning
But
curve.
the
lots
way
of changes.
doesn't the way new orders work then, or maybe this is the mission special rule, but you draw an extra one and you can choose to discard one
That's
of
the
3.
mission special rule.
Okay, so maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you look at all 3. It's almost like what isn't that
There
actually
is
a mission?
current one,
Secret
yes,
intel.
There is a current one that does that.
Yeah.
No one plays it. It's not competitive.
Oh, we love
focused.
that card. It's
You
so
love that
fun.
card? Yeah, it's
so nice.
the score all the points card. Oh, you drew a bad mission? Just draw another one.
Just pick what you
it's
want.
I don't think anybody doesn't like that mission.
So we
so
actually
forgiving,
had that in the
except
tournament.
fixed players.
Right, fixed are like screw
Yeah.
you. But there is
Not happy about it.
we're getting rid of Leviathan, but there is another one that is if you are playing fixed, you can draw a third card and play that card. No, rip in peace, Leviathan. Funny story in that
Rip in peace.
Rip in peace. Rip in pepperonis.
yeah.
Rest in pepperonis.
Spore mine in peace.
That's right.
Spore mines go.
Well.
Spore
yeah,
mining, they
that's
can't do
actually-
actions. They're OC0.
Good. Fuck you, if you're listening to this, you Tyranid players
God.
who just get 40 free secondaries,
Yeah, fuck them.
eat it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're good people.
yeah.
But you run Biovores.
They have to run Biovores.
They
anymore?
don't have a choice.
They don't
but-
have a choice. Well,
it's-
I mean, what do
it's-
they do now?
Oh, you
Gargoyle spam and then trap
But
you.
gargoyles can't advance and do actions
That's
anymore.
fine.
Just
That's
trap
fine.
you. Trap you in a. Don't let you play Warhammer. Trap you in a deployment zone.
Just don't play Warhammer anymore.
yeah, just go like this. Hooah. That's all they do. Hello, and now you're stuck in this
Oh,
little corner.
gargoyle jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's actually a very good. That's a good point, Dave. Tyranid players now,
Have to actually
Man,
figure
that's
out
rough.
how to play Warhammer.
which is rough.
well, look at that. They have to play the game like everybody
No
else.
sympathy, hey. Here I am.
Not that they were doing well before, but like it's
Gore
just like
did super well. We have like local Tyranid players that
Gore's-
actually do quite well.
oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just like you want to play this game and not have to
Interact with anything.
do anything and use your brain
Yeah.
and just move up the board and roll your dice. Like
Yeah.
great, play Tyranids and throw spore mines in your
Well, you
deployment
can't
zone.
anymore now, right? So.
Yep.
Well, you'll still get your engage on all fronts is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a little bit
Oh,
easy.
really?
It's a little bit easier to score.
Why? Is it just within?
So it's within each quarter, but not within 6 inches of the middle. So instead of having that 3-inch like buffer like across the board, you now have a bubble in the middle, and as long as you're not in that bubble, you're good to go.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take
That's
it.
like ninth.
It's a little bit easier, I'd say.
Because remember,
on the
like in
whole.
ninth.
Yeah.
On the
Remember
whole.
That's
ninth, and it was
fine.
just like you could actually just be like just right across the line in ninth, and like, no, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. Yeah, I am. Yeah, because like that would be one of the secondaries you just choose. Like, I'm always going to be engaged because I'm always going to be around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyranids are not having a good day. I wonder what we'll see for Tyranid changes because
They need a change to play the game
They do,
because it's a it's like a solid B minus tier army.
yeah.
And they were only there because they could do that cheesy like spore mines do actions and score max
Oh,
secondaries.
Biovores.
They
the only
need a bit
reason-
of help for sure.
Yeah, which I hope we see. I hope we do see that. Like I do like they're doing points. They're doing rules changes in consolidation with this
With
rules
the new
change.
codexes, yeah. And
That's
you know
huge.
what? And on the Meta Watch, they said Admech are getting real changes.
Admech big changes.
A huge buff
correct?
is
Hey,
what
Dave's
the
happy for
designer
some Admech
said.
changes.
I am happy. I just figured them out when they were bad. Like I'm winning games with them.
Yeah.
And now they're getting a buff. Like this could be good news, or it just makes my old list obsolete because I like to play Castellan robots. I've always played Castellan
hell yeah,
robots since
dude.
the beginning of 8.
Hell yeah.
So I hope they don't change them.
Castellan robots
Do
are
you-
the one that can reflect damage back on your opponent.
Double their shots.
So their big thing is in this Data Som Conclave, they get fights first, and under the right conditions, the unit of robots gets 24 attacks, hit on 4s.
Okay.
But they are strength 12 with
Ooh.
twin linked minus
Ooh.
2/3 damage.
Oh, hello.
And you
yes.
can spend a CP for +1 a wound.
That sounds pretty good to me.
So it kills anything.
You won't spend that much though for the +1 wound at strength 12. Like there's not.
You'll
but-
use it if you're wounding on 3s.
Right,
If
sure.
you're-
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Why not? And
love to
it's
wound on
especially a tank, like fuck, like a strength 10, or actually on a Dread Knight.
Yes.
it just shuts down melee armies.
Yeah.
Like you do not want to charge it. And there's a bunch of other stuff in the army that does stuff too. And it's all damage 3, which is really good in the game right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you've got a whole Admech army like ready to go. Like you're
I
ready to
have
rock.
like 12,000 points
Dude,
of Admech
yes, let's
that
go.
have been just sitting there lamenting.
waiting to
Pain
come
at
out.
their end,
For-
yeah.
for
I
a
don't
couple
think
years
I
now,
have not
yeah.
played a single Admech player this whole edition.
Okay, well there you go.
Literally zero.
Maybe we'll line it up right now.
Me versus Dave.
You want to get beat down by a C-tier army?
Oh, let's go! I'm ready. My body is ready.
It is a cool army, but the way GW has written the rules right now is makes it so you can either play 140 models, and they all break, by the way, once you take them off the shelf. Like as soon as you touch them,
Right.
an antenna breaks off.
They explode. Yeah.
Or you can play like a tank army, which does nothing, or you can play
The chickens.
the chickens,
like,
the 27 chickens,
yeah.
under 1,000 points, which is incredible if you don't mind paying $1 for 0.5 points.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. How much does a chicken cost? It's like, is it like $1 per point? basically?
50 to 60 points.
Okay,
pretty
so
much.
there's...
And the kit is like, I want to say
$75.
$75.
Dude,
yeah.
it's wild.
That's crazy.
For one.
That's crazy.
It's like the TTS army.
That's
like
when
the
you,
joke.
It's
It's the TTS
if
army.
you want to win a TTS tournament,
Yeah.
bring 20 subject chickens for
different
under
meta.
1,000 points.
Different
It's a
meta.
very different meta.
Yeah, it's a money meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing. So Dave here is actually hosting an RTT here in Calgary next Saturday. This is called
that's correct.
Sweaty Saturday.
Sweaty
I
Saturday.
didn't put too much time into naming
like
the
it,
event,
man.
but it's
pretty
going to
funny.
be fun. We are 29 out of 36 players right now. It's really it's just an RTT, right? And we have a lot of new players, which is great.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's
Funnily
good.
enough, my boss, like my professional boss at work, his son is playing in the RTT.
Awesome.
So we're
Hey.
gonna give him a good round
That's
one
sweet.
pairing.
That's
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and here's the thing.
Give him the
So
win path.
Yeah.
He did so good.
Oh wow, he's a real prospect.
Listen, Dave, you slip me a smooth $100 bill, I will lose to that kid, no problem.
Yeah, well, here it is. So and then there's going to be a buy because it's going to be uneven numbers, and the buys could be
Yeah,
Ben,
that's
and then
right.
that's when he's going to crush you the Admech.
Yeah.
Oh no, I lost this kid. Oh.
I asked Crookshank, that is one of the people who manages the most of the events in Calgary. And I was
Yeah.
like, "How do you do manual pairings?" He's like, "You can't." I was like,
He doesn't do.
No.
Oh, right. Yeah.
"Oh, he does
No,
though,
he
because he seems to cuck me every single tournament."
Here it is.
and like a bunch of other people.
They're
We
called
all
out.
talk. We're like, he does manual pairings, right?
But yeah, I think the Sweaty Saturday is going to be a great event, and I think you should bring it back every year so that we can see you run an event every year, at least once a year.
I'm gonna oil myself up. Gonna be completely nude.
Get really so
No,
sweaty.
we're not.
Dude,
It's
the
gonna be-
trophies are all trophies of Dave, just oiled up.
Oh hell
Yeah.
yeah! Hell yeah!
It's gonna be a fun little RTT.
He gives
Lots
you
of
a
new
lube,
players.
a bottle of lube if you win.
We were talking about one of the trophies. One of the trophies being was it Grot lip balm or something, and it was just a big glue stick.
Oh,
I didn't have time to get the grot
What the
milk going,
fuck, dude?
but
What the fuck?
that's pretty
maybe
funny.
next year.
I'm out.
It's gonna be fun in RTT. We'll have a lot of new players,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
It's always good to grow the community.
For sure.
I agree.
It's not gonna have a painting requirement. You know, you'll lose your 10 points, but whatever. Get out there, roll dice, beat your opponent by more than 10
Yeah,
points.
there you go.
Have some good veteran players also. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to miss it. Yeah,
so
it sounds like
a
a
bunch
good
of the
one.
boys are going up to Edmonton for Gamescom.
Mhm.
For those of us staying behind, we're going to play in the Sweaty Saturday. Not to. I know everybody will counter build me if I say this because I'm obviously the top dog at this tournament. But I'm doing a cheeky triple Transcendent Catan list.
I imagine by the time this episode is released, we'll have played the Sweaty Saturday RTT. It's a good time for somebody that's never won an RTT to win an RTT.
Hell yeah!
Just because we don't have some of the top dogs playing in it.
That's right.
We have a lot of new people. It's anyone's game.
Mhm.
Anybody
Yeah.
can win this RTT.
That's really cool, and I think we need tournaments like that just in the scene, anyways. You know, not every month has to have a highly competitive tournament. You know, we're not Europe, but it allows for more newer players to kind of come in because it can be daunting to go into a very competitive
100%,
event.
of course.
And there's a lot of us that take it very seriously. Like, yeah, sure, we go there for fun, but like we're competitive players and we want to be the best, and you always want to play the best, and allowing newer players to kind of come in, say a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And it's not so daunting. Then they're like, "Oh man, I love tournaments," and then they start doing it again and again and again, and then all of a sudden we have a bigger community.
That's
The
right.
barrier to entry to this game is so high already.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We need chill tournaments so people can build up their confidence
Yes.
effectively.
100%.
And then just come, and then suddenly Henry Cavill puts out his Amazon Prime Space Marine
Yeah, let's
series,
do it.
and then we have
We pop off.
200-person RTTs.
Let's do it.
Fingers crossed. It's going to happen.
200
That's the
person
goal,
RTTs.
right?
Well, and then all of a sudden, like our Z level fame that we have right here at Bloodbath Tactics
Let's do it.
turns to X level fame.
Henry Cavill,
or maybe
Henry
maybe a
Cavill,
solid J.
If Henry Cavill
J-listers.
reaches out to us, we'll probably have him on if he wants. I guess.
I guess.
Bring your
Like,
wife.
I mean, I don't know. He does have a nice beard, which I mean,
It's a beautiful wife also.
who's his wife?
She's just so pretty.
You don't even know what she's named. She's just gorgeous.
I did remember her name at one point. She's a very nice lady.
She's a very nice lady.
Sure, she's faithful.
He's had some good movies come out. His recent movie, Ungently Warfare, very good.
Is it good?
Oh, is it good?
Very good.
That's a new one.
We love you, Henry Cavill. All jokes aside.
Well, yeah.
Come on the podcast.
Come on the podcast, man. If Henry Cavill's people are listening, we'll talk. We'll talk.
He does play Custodes though, so he's probably not having a great time.
I haven't seen any reaction from Henry Cavill on the Custodes Codex.
Well, he's busy fucking making Warhammer content, man.
Making Warhammer content. Yeah, it's going to be on Amazon.
Amazon Prime funded it, and it looks like from don't quote me on this, but it looks like his Eisenhorn. So he's doing the Eisenhorn story. I don't know what character he's going to play. I imagine because he's producing it all, I think he'd just be the Emperor. Just be the Emperor.
Oh, just be the Emperor.
Yeah, and just be him because, if he's mortally wounded on the throne, then he's still there. Still kind of exists.
I'm not familiar with lore enough to know Eisenhorn is post-heresy, pre-heresy. What's Eisenhorn going on?
It's post-heresy.
Post-heresy?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And I will say, it being on Amazon does bode very well. I'm a bit of a Dungeons & Dragons nerd, those who know me. And the anybody who's familiar with D&D knows Critical Role. Critical Role had their what's that?
So good.
You're talking Vox Machina, right? Vox Machina.
Right?
I've watched that series at least twice.
Dude, it's so good.
Yeah,
the two seasons are incredible. It's kind of we won't get into D&D right now, but the point is Amazon seems to give their creators the liberty to really make their product shine and be honest to the source material and stuff like that. So
we have high hopes.
We have high hopes.
Up here.
We have high hopes, Henry Cavill, and if you want to join us on the podcast, come on down. Anytime. Anytime.
Calgary, Alberta. All right.
We live in Calgary.
Yeah, we filmed this out of a bar.
Podcast and bar.
Yeah. We filmed this.
Play a battle report.
Yeah.
Or
there's a bar. There's a bar in Calgary that actually has a podcast studio inside of it, and this is where we film it.
The first podcast studio in a bar in Canada.
Yep.
Hey,
that's a true story.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Anyways. Well, I think we got enough. We talked a lot here. We got a lot of content. I think a lot of players can benefit from David's knowledge here of Grey Knights. I think you brought up a lot of good points. Why is this thing? You brought up a lot of good points. Just basic strategic play, but also those kind of niche plays too. Even lining up all the Dread Knights to make sure you're scoring. Or you're not trading units. You're more getting value out of units. And I think you brought a lot of insight on the Grey Knights that way.
David don't trade.
We always love having you on. The World Leaders Insight was great. I think a lot of people can benefit off that too. And that's what we want to do here. We are all trying to be competitive and all trying to be better and learn different archetypes. And this game is wildly complicated. So thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you ever want to talk Grey Knights with me, if you're on the Facebook group, message me. I played a mirror match maybe 2 months ago, and I found out that you could fall back, shoot and charge. I looked at the first part of that rule on Dread Knights where it's you can advance, shoot and charge.
Yeah.
And maybe I played 6 months of Dread Knights doing that.
I think about 60 games.
Honestly, it was about closer to maybe 80 games.
Oh,
I played about 130 games with Grey Knights.
Yeah.
I was about 80 games was you can fall back,
shoot and charge. I think Cass called you out literally on our last episode for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy Rose.
There you go.
Half of that I was that's such a good rule. The other half, oh my god.
Also very good.
Oh
my god.
Yeah. The things I could have accomplished.
Yeah. I actually would have won a tournament if I had known that.
Oh, wow.
No shit.
That kind of hurt.
Fuck.
But shame on me for having tunnel vision.
That is what it is, man.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
Even the best among us make mistakes.
Of course, yeah. We always love having you. This is our second time on the show, and thanks for coming on and giving us your insight.
Repeat guest. It should be noted. The camera loves you. The people love you. We love you.
Yeah, we do.
Why not?
Yeah, and hey, anyone else or anyone out there, let us know what you want to see. If you want to see, we're going to be talking about Prior Nexus. We'll probably be talking Sisters Codex because I'm far too excited about it.
Cass is just creaming his khakis right now for Sisters.
Yeah, he's creaming in the khakis. I'm way too excited for this. So there's lots more to come, and let us know what you want to see. But as always, guys, like and subscribe. It does help us, produce more content. It does show us what you want to do, and we can kind of mold,
customize the content.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What do you want? What do you want from us?
One too many beers can kind of change my words there.
No such thing.
Yeah. But
always, as always, Don't forget to, Dave, we got to like, we got to comment, we got to subscribe, and then we got to line them up, and you got to punch that notification bell right in the mouth so you never miss an episode of Bloodbath Tactics. That's right, boys.
Awesome.
Good show, everybody.
Good show, everyone. We'll talk soon. Goodbye.